E3 2018 is this week, and in this issue we have 5 comic book links that connect to Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4 coming out September 7th. What can we expect in the game, and what comic books should you read up on? Find out next. Welcome to Comic Report. I'm Leon Scorpius, and in this issue we're going to talk about Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4. As you can tell, we're very passionate about video games here at Taymation Studios, and coming up this E3 2018, the game I'm most excited about is Marvel's Spider-Man. There is no better feeling than being able to take control of your favorite wall crawler and explore the rich Spider-Man universe. I'm super excited to share with you 5 connections that I feel that we will see from the comics. Keep in mind, if you'd like to play the game completely blind, this video might not be for you. If you enjoyed this video and other comic support videos, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. Give us a like and comment below on what you're most excited about for E3 2018. Before we dive into the list, I do want to mention that Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4 is its own story and universe. Insomniac Games has told us that there's 100% its own unique story with the way that the characters are told and the way that the story is told. And we know, just like the MCU takes references from the comic books, Insomniac does the same thing. There's a lot of great links that we'll be sharing with you on this list, but don't want you to get disappointed if it doesn't 100% transfer over to the game, and the other way around too. I don't want to spoil you if you're looking forward to just experiencing that story by itself. For me, I'm going to be reading all the comics throughout this summer leading up to the game's release, and I just can't get enough about Spider-Man. So with that out of the way, let's get started with our list. Number 1, the life of Peter Parker. The main character of Insomniac's game is going to be Peter Parker, but what we find out is he's going to be a little older, a little wiser. He's going to be in his early 20s, about to graduate from college, and he's been Spider-Man for a few years now. You're going to be able to see him do his awesome crime-fighting moves, because he's been your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for a while now, fighting crime in the streets of New York City. Mary Jane has been confirmed to be in the game, although what's interesting is you'll find that her and Peter have been on and off again in their relationship since high school. So that's a really interesting plot point, I feel, for any of you that have gone through the love and relationships from high school and college. You know that there's going to be a lot of heartstring pulling and a lot of tension between that relationship. But she is playable. She's going to have a role in the game. So it'll be really interesting to see if this experience rekindles their relationship, or very much like in the comics, they're just apart. Peter has to be a hero, and sometimes that gets in the way of having a relationship. So we're super excited to see more of Mary Jane. And in this version of Mary Jane, it seems that she is a journalist of some sort. And I think the surprise that we're going to see in the game is that it's going to flip that story, and Mary Jane's actually going to be the link to the Daily Bugle, perhaps being an intern there. Aunt May is also in the game, and she is going to play the role as a volunteer at Feast, which is a homeless shelter inside of this universe. Unlike the comics, however, it doesn't seem like Peter is going to be living with Aunt May. It looks like Peter has his own apartment. Miles Morales is also in the game, but we've yet to see and find out whether or not he's going to be a playable character. It seems like he's a support character as of right now, but I still like that they brought him in the game and in the universe. My guess is they're going to save him for some DLC or maybe even a sequel. I think there's a lot you could do with Miles Morales, and we'll see what they have in store for us. Number 2, Spider-Man versus Mr. Negative. So what we've seen so far, the main villain seems to be Mr. Negative, and he's a very obscure Spider-Man hero. We haven't seen him in the movies yet. He's not in the MCU, but he has a very unique and strong role in the comics in the last 10 years as a part of Dan Slott. We have gotten confirmation that Dan Slott did provide some writing guidance and some guidance on the game, a lot of inspiration at the beginning of that. So it's no surprise that it's probably because he was the creator of Mr. Negative. You're going to see him and his inner demons, which are, kind of masked goons. What I like about in the game so far is looks like a variety of type of goons. It's not just one type, but you also have that really strong masked inner demon guy that fights Spider-Man. And we may be dealing with some type of drug that impacts the safety of the public called Devil's Breath. So we'll find out a little bit more about that. The comic book jumping on point for Mr. Negative, and to learn more about this specific story with Feast and Aunt May volunteering for Feast, is going to be with Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man Brand New Day. You can find it in trade paperback, but if you're reading the singles, it's going to be issues 546 to I believe 551. The storyline solidified Dan Slott's 10-year run. This was like one of the biggest stories in the beginning of his run. There's going to be a lot of pieces that if you read Spider-Man the last 10 years, you're going to see that in the game. And I really like that they did incorporate a lot of what we've read in the last 10 years, and almost rewards us a little bit as being comic book readers of The Amazing Spider-Man to see a lot of these elements into the video game. As I mentioned, Dan Slott did assist early on in the game, but it's also writer Christoph Gage who's been really in-depth in the game. In one of the interviews, Chris was actually quoted as working with Insomniac for like the last 3 years on the story of this. So while Dan Slott was still continuing and finishing his run on Amazing Spider-Man, his other Spider-Man writer, Christoph Gage, was the head writer, it seems like, on this game. Mr. Negative, as his name suggests, also has a positive side. So the plot twist is he's actually the philanthropist behind Feast, this homeless shelter that Aunt May is working for. And there's going to be a lot of conflict in that story, I feel, because you're going to see his dark side and his light side. And Martin Lee, who is the philanthropist side of Mr. Negative, actually doesn't know that Mr. Negative exists. So I think that it's going to be a really unique plot twist. He seems a really badass villain if you look at some of the action sequences from the trailers and the demos. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all that plays out in the story. Number 3, a SpiderVerse of Spider-Man costume. There's already been alternate costumes revealed for the game, including Spider-Punk, Spider-Man Noir, and the Iron Spider. What we learn in some of the interviews with some of our other game news sites is that a lot of these costumes will actually be built and customized. So you'll collect items throughout the universe in the game and be able to construct your own spider suits. There's dozens of them. And what's really exciting is, again, a link to the comic books. They will link to a lot of the comics and the costumes in SpiderVerse. So we talked about in our previous issue that SpiderVerse is the collection of all spider totems or all versions of Spider-Man inside of the Spider-Man universe. We'll see what other costumes are going to come out of there. Some of the items are coming out of DLC, some of the costumes are coming out for pre-orders. So get your hands on all the costumes. I know I'm going to try to chase down every single one of them. Number 4, the SpiderMan Universe. In addition to Mr. Negative, the game is also going to be featuring a lot of the other villains. It is an open world game, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are tons of side quests and side missions that tackle Spider-Man taking on other foes. Some of the confirmed villains that we've seen in the demos and in the trailers include Kingpin, Shocker, Rhino, Scorpion, Taskmaster, Vulture, Black Cat, and there's actually a nod to other potential, side quests, including a nod to Captain Watanabe. She's a police officer that shows in some of the screens in the Spider-Man game, but she also has an alter ego named Wraith that plays as a Spider-Man ally. So there's a lot of these villains and characters and other heroes that we're going to see in the Spider-Man universe inside this Spider-Man game. Number 5, locations and Easter eggs. So the game is a Spider-Man game, but we also know that the Spider-Man universe is connected to the larger Marvel universe, and we have heard that there's going to be other landmarks that we're going to see in the game, including Avengers Tower, the Wakandan Embassy, and Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. I'm really curious to see whether or not there'll be interactions with the other Marvel heroes, specifically, Spider-Man's relationship with Doctor Strange. I think that'd be really cool to explore, maybe within a DLC. Other Easter eggs include scenes showing that Norman Osborn's actually the mayor. So that's going to be a very interesting plot development. Because he's the mayor, I doubt we're going to see Oscorp, which makes us wonder one of the biggest questions yet to be answered, and a close held secret from Insomniac is, what is the company that Spider-Man, or that Peter Parker is working for in the game? So in the game hints that he's a scientist, that's what he's studying in college, and he's an intern with a company. Could this be the opportunity for them to introduce Stark Industries? Is Peter working with Tony? My bet is it's actually rooted in the comic books, and we are going to see Peter working at Horizon Labs. If you want to read more about Horizon Labs in the comic books, you'll find it in Dan Slott's The Amazing Spider-Man Big Time, Volume 1. So in that, Peter kind of resets his life, he joins Horizon Labs, and he goes on to start making tons of gadgets and new friends. So my hope is that will be kind of one of the big reveals, is Peter will be working with all of his friends over at Horizon Labs. Well, I hope you enjoyed this issue and learning about all the amazing connections this game has to the comic books. Comment below and tell me what you're most excited about to learn on Sony's press conference and more of Marvel Spider-Man on the PS4. You can follow me on Twitter at LeonScorpius. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next issue.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want to watch more from us, click on one of the thumbnails. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up to date with our latest shenanigans. Be sure to click the bell for notifications, and check out the description below for a link to our Patreon page. See you next time!